It's been a whirlwind week for abortion headlines, so I think it's important to go a little deeper into those headlines and try to get a grasp of where we are, where we're headed, and what we can do now. My name is Brittany Page. This is the Page Perspective. Quickly at the top, please subscribe. And remember, I turned on channel memberships. So if you value what I do here, please consider joining as a member for as little as $1.99 per month. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Now, if, like me, you've been alternating between states of immense sadness and rage and disassociation, then you're in the right place. Let's try to work through this together. If you haven't been following the news or you're just now hearing the name Kate Cox for the first time, let's briefly do a quick refresher. Kate Cox is a woman living in Texas. She discovered her fetus had a fatal abnormality, trisomy 18. This meant the fetus would not survive childbirth, or if the fetus did survive, would live a short and painful life. Kate Cox has 2 other children and wants to have more children, so this was very much a wanted pregnancy. But she also learned that continuing to carry her pregnancy would put her future ability to have kids at risk. Not only that, but her health was in jeopardy because of the pregnancy. So she'd been admitted to emergency care 4 times within the past month, all while filing a lawsuit in Texas because she was prevented from accessing life-saving care in the form of an abortion. She appeared in court on Zoom, as shown here, and a judge approved a temporary restraining order which would have allowed her the opportunity to save her life and get an abortion. But State Attorney General Ken Paxton threatened her doctors with prosecution and fines if they followed that judge's order, and he filed an appeal. This landed the case with the Texas Supreme Court. Kate Cox couldn't wait for the Supreme Court to make a decision, and she left. She left the state of Texas to get her abortion. And good thing she did, because the Texas Supreme Court ruled against her. Reading now from the Texas Tribune. The High Court rejected the lower court's temporary restraining order, saying Cox did not qualify for an abortion under the medical exception to the law. The justices said Carson, Cox's OBGYN, did not assert that, in her reasonable medical judgment, Cox is facing a life-threatening physical condition as the law requires. Quote, "No one disputes that Ms. Cox's pregnancy has been extremely complicated. Any parents would be devastated to learn of their unborn child's trisomy 18 diagnosis," the justices wrote. Some difficulties in pregnancy, however, even serious ones, do not pose the heightened risks to the mother the exception encompasses. So now it should be clear that so-called abortion exceptions, the rules that Republicans put in place to allow abortion to protect the life of the mother, are lies. They're lying. They don't want to allow abortion in any situation. Kate Cox went to emergency care 4 times in 1 month, and a bunch of judges said, nah, not serious enough. Unless you're bleeding out and the medical team can barely save you, you're not yet close enough to dying for this exception to apply to you. But Kate Cox is just one woman. There is also the case of Britney Watts in Ohio, who was charged with a felony after having a miscarriage in her toilet at 22 weeks. According to recent reporting, Dr. George Stairbenz, a forensic pathologist, testified that an examination revealed no injury to the fetus and said Watts's fetus died before going through the birth canal. He noted that Watts's medical record showed she visited the hospital twice before birth. Quote, "This fetus was going to be non-viable. It was going to be non-viable because she had premature ruptured membranes, her water had broken early, and the fetus was too young to be delivered." She visited the hospital twice. Ohio criminalizes abortion care. Now she's being charged with a felony. What is the expectation in Ohio for women who miscarry into the toilet? A thing that happens all the time. Are they expected to scoop up those remains and deliver those remains to a hospital? To the police? Explain that they went to the hospital for help but then miscarried at home? What is the expectation here? Criminalizing abortion creates numerous new problems that shouldn't exist when we're talking about a medical procedure. And then we also have the pregnant woman in Kentucky who is suing the state over its abortion restrictions. According to the Washington Post, A pregnant woman in Kentucky who sued the state over its abortion restrictions learned that her embryo no longer has cardiac activity, her attorney said Tuesday. The Kentucky woman, identified as Jane Doe, filed a lawsuit last week demanding the right to an abortion and arguing that the state's near-total ban violates her rights to privacy and self-determination. So we're starting to see a shift. There are more personal stories in the news. Pregnant women are dominating the headlines in these lawsuits. It isn't abortion clinics or doctors. It's pregnant women who are making their suffering in the face of abortion bans clear. We know that 59% of abortions are obtained by women with children, so it's not surprising that pregnant women are leading this charge, but it may start to have an impact that we haven't seen yet. Turning again to the Washington Post. The strategy behind the new high-profile lawsuits has both legal and political implications for the fate of abortion access in the ever-evolving aftermath of the fall of Roe v. Wade, according to experts tracking the cases. They enable advocacy groups to chip away at the new laws by highlighting particular circumstances that jeopardize the health of the mother, while compelling the courts, as well as the country, to reckon with some of the most harrowing consequences of abortion bans. For the past year and a half, what has resonated in public consciousness is patient stories, said David Cohen, a law professor at Drexel who specializes in constitutional law and gender. It's much more compelling when you have Cox as opposed to Planned Parenthood. I agree, and I certainly hope so. I hope people are paying attention, especially in the case of Kate Cox, who was able to leave the state of Texas. Many women find themselves in Kate's exact situation. They just don't have the resources to file a lawsuit, have their case litigated before the world, and ultimately leave to get care in a different state. And that gets us to two important takeaways that I want to leave you with here today. The first one being that abortion funds are struggling. Post-Roe, there was a wave of rage giving, but that has decreased as the issue of abortion has left front and center. There are abortion funds that provide financial support for abortions, like the procedure, as well as travel to obtain those abortions. And some have had to close temporarily, stop offering services because of a lack of donations. That's sickening. It's sickening that we're in a place where we have to crowdsource our healthcare, but we are in that situation. And if you are in a position to do so, I would recommend that you donate to an abortion fund, whether it's the National Abortion Federation or another local abortion fund in your area. It's important that people know, even if you live in a state with an abortion ban, you can access abortion. It may require calling an abortion fund and getting assistance, but it is possible, and we want to keep those funds open. The second important point that I want to leave you is that if Republicans win the House, win the Senate, win the White House, if the GOP is allowed any measure of success and power, whether it's Trump or someone else, this entire country will look this way. If there is a national abortion ban put into place, you won't have people leaving Texas to go elsewhere. Pregnant people in every state will be in danger. This is the reality we are facing. We should now know that Republicans cannot be trusted on this issue. Even if they say they don't support a national ban, or they say they support one at 15 weeks or whatever, the results will be the same. They claim, therefore, exemptions for the life of the mother, too. And look where that got Kate Cox. Trust what your eyes are telling you here. You're seeing for yourself the end result of these abortion bans. Believe it and let it move you to action. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call 657-464-7609, or you can send an email to idoubitit@dollemore.com. This is the time where I thank my newest channel members, the members who keep this work going for as little as $1.99 a month. So thank you to Shanna R. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. Please feel free to yell at me if I didn't. You get your own special shout out today. So thank you so much for your support and helping to keep this show afloat. Now, remember to check out the sources in the description of this video. And I look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this. Please take care, and I will see you next time.